host, Teddy Worldsvelt, and this week on Weekly Rough Rider Americana, we are going to cover the Apaches and the Comanches, two of the most respected tribes that lived on the Great Plains of North America. Now, as someone who's been to the Great Plains, I can tell you, you have to be tough and you have to be smart to live on this vast stretch of grassland. The story of the Native Americans, or what some people call Indians, is a very important story in American history. What we call the Native Americans originally came from Asia. 10,000 years ago, when sea levels were much lower because of the Ice Age, humans could travel from Asia into North America through what we called the Bering Land Bridge. This allowed animals, such as buffalo, and people to move across and begin settling in the American continents. These people would eventually spread out and form their own tribes, their own cultures, languages, and even religions. Eventually, some Native Americans would settle in what is called the Great Plains. The Great Plains region includes the greatest expanse of grasslands in the modern-day United States. However, much of it has been converted to rain-fed and irrigated crop production. This picture gives you an idea of what the Great Plains look like, a vast, expansive grassland with very little trees. Because the grasslands of the Great Plains were so expansive, the majority of the Native Americans that lived on the Great Plains were nomadic, meaning they moved from place to place. For example, the Comanche originated in what is now the state of Wyoming and eventually moved down to what is now Texas. The Native Americans of the Great Plains followed the buffalo. These massive animals were hunted, and then every part of this animal was used to create things such as tools, clothing, and even their own homes. Because they were nomadic, the Apaches and the Comanches, along with other Plains Indians, lived in what are called teepees. These cone-shaped mobile homes were the best type of housing for nomadic peoples, allowing them to move from one place to another, set up their teepees, and then, when it was time to leave, bundle it up and go to a new location. Eventually, the Spanish would bring over the horse to the Americas, and the Apaches and Comanches were very quick to adapt their culture around the horse. They found new power in the horse, for they learned to ride on horseback with great skill while hunting buffalo, conducting warfare, or even relocating to new places. These Indian peoples depended on the buffalo for all of their living essentials. The Apaches actually arrived in the southern Great Plains in the 1300s, but they did not acquire the horse until the 1650s. The acquisition of the horse allowed their culture to change drastically, and for the better. Here is a photo of one of the most important Apache chiefs that ever lived. His name was Geronimo. The Comanche were actually not a single people. They were in fact divided into 8 to 12 independent tribes. These different tribes acted independently of one another. This is a photograph of a famous Comanche chief by the name of Quanah Parker. Eventually, the Apaches and Comanches, along with other Native American Great Plains tribes, would be forced onto reservations after losing a series of wars to the Americans. One of the reasons the Native Americans were forced onto reservations is because of the near extermination of the buffalo. Without the buffalo, their culture imploded, and they could not live the way they had lived for thousands of years. Thank you for watching. I have been your host, Teddy Worldsevelt, and I will see you next time.